we're going to settle your claim. This is what you're going to get. And then you know how much money you're having. And now you can start saying, okay, well, I got these contracts. I got this estimate. Okay, I'm in really good standing because, all my estimates are much lower or right there at that same amount. But we're always going to be higher. Now, insurance companies, it just really depends on the adjuster, right? 9 out of 10, most adjusters handling large loss, they're super happy to work with a PA because we're basically, especially a good PA, a company that knows what they're doing is going to prepare and build their file and do their job much quicker, right? We could come in, you're talking about a large loss adjuster from one of the big carriers. They're getting 2 fires a day. It takes us for 1 fire for the inspection, for writing an estimate, for building a file. That's 4 or 5 days of work. It's a lot of work to put a detail, and they have to inspect 2 in the 1 day and then put estimates and files together. So we're basically preparing them their files, sharing our estimate with them, and then we're negotiating on site. The last 2 fires local here, we know the adjusters very well. We have our estimate, they have a copy of ours. We walk through the whole building. We agree on everything. This is what we don't agree. Okay, fair enough. We can remove this, and by the time we leave, we're settled.
Welcome to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals who work with investors, buyers, and sellers of commercial real estate coast to coast. Whether you're an investor, broker, lender, property manager, attorney, or accountant, we're here to learn from the experts.
Welcome to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio. Thanks for joining us. My name is J. Darren Gross. This is a podcast focused on commercial real estate investment and risk management strategies. Weekly, we have conversations with commercial real estate investors and professionals who provide their experience and insight to help you grow your real estate portfolio. Today's interview is sponsored by Building Insurance and Risk. When you invest in real estate, it pays to work with a real estate investor protection specialist to protect yourself and your investment from catastrophic loss. The experts at Building Insurance and Risk focus on real estate investor protection. They provide you with multiple insurance coverage offers and a side-by-side coverage comparison. To learn more, go to buildinginsurancerisk.com. Today, my guest is Andy Gurczak. Andy is the founder of All City Adjusting, a licensed public adjusting firm with a focus on making sure the clients get what they truly deserve from their insurance claims. And in just a minute, we're going to speak with Andy about what is a public adjuster. But first, a quick reminder, if you like our show, CREPN Radio, there are a couple things you can do to help us out. You can like, share, and subscribe. And as always, we encourage you to leave a comment. We love to hear from our listeners. Also, if you want to see how handsome our guests are, be sure to check out our YouTube channel. You can find us on YouTube at Commercial Real Estate Pro Network. And while you're there, please subscribe. With that, I want to welcome my guest, Andy Gurczak. Welcome back to CREPN Radio.
Darren, thank you so much for having me the second time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we had a good time last time. I'm looking forward to our conversation. And but before we get going, if you could take just a minute and share with the listeners a little bit about your background.
Yeah, I immigrated here in late 90s as a little kid. Went to school here, was in construction. Then went into sales. Then found really what I really wanted to. What I'm doing now and what we built is All City Adjusting, is public adjusting. Was lucky enough to find a mentor that took me under his wings. Spent 3 years with him, teaching me everything. The business. It's a very niche business. Not many people even know about it, just because if you don't have claims, you don't have properties, you've never had a claim, you might have never even heard of a public adjuster. But got my hands into that. It's been now 15 years running All City, building it. And for those that don't know, public adjuster is someone that represents the insured on their claim against their insurance company, advocates for them, make sure that they get paid their full settlement for all their coverages, get paid on time, and the process is handled the right way.
Got it. So the public adjusting you do, is it limited to property related risk?
It's property owned, correct. Okay. There is public adjusters do vehicle, but that's a whole different aspect. We specialize strictly in property, correct.
Okay. And do you typically work with single family homeowners? Do you also work with commercial properties? What's the
Yeah,
range?
our specialty, or and kind of what we've grown to be, um, is 80% of our clients are investors, are business owners, landlords. We grew with them to each state as they grew their portfolios. 20% would be homeowners. And then large loss is our specialty. So any claims over 100,000, fire, large water claims, commercial roofing, anything that size is kind of where we step in.
Got it. So walk us through a a situation. The fire happened yesterday. We got an apartment building, and it's more than 100,000. It looks like it's multiple units, could be a total. How how is it that you get involved, and then kind of let's walk through the steps of you know the start, and then kind of engaging the insurance company and kind of figuring out how this thing's going to work.
Yeah, so we get hired by the insured. So the insureds reach out to us, whether it's by referral, finding us online, um, having a previous claim. Once they reach out to us, this is with every state or every public trust you work with, you sign the contract that's most likely governed by the state they're working in. Once that contract's in place, then we go to work right away. We'll do the inspection. We meet with the adjusters. We prepare all the documents, everything. We're basically building the file for the insurance company. So when they come, we're ready to negotiate. We're ready to settle because they're basing everything on our numbers, right? On the file we have. That's the quickest way, right? If you have a fire right away, we'll ask, if the windows have to be boarded up, we'll make sure that you get the windows boarded up or anything further that you have to mitigate because it's in your policy to protect the property from further damage. So we're going to advise our client from A to Z, what they have to do, but we're going to take the lead and we're going to represent them. So all the communication goes through us. That claim gets handled quickly, fairly. There's no delays. We're saying the right stuff. And again, then getting to the end and making sure that our client gets his max settlement for each coverage that he has that he should be or he or she should be receiving.
Got it. So the contract, uh, what are the elements of the contract? Is it basically saying that you are the point for all communication? Is there the fee
That's correct.
structure? Is it what does
Correct.
it mean?
It's the states. The states actually put the contracts together. So we based it off. I think we based it off Illinois, and as we've grown to other states, we've just incorporated that Illinois and got that approved in every other state. But it's just a standard contract. It's more for protection of the consumer, right? It says what a public adjuster does, who pays a public adjuster, which is the insured. Like it just says all that to protect the insured, which is 100% okay. And then it does have our fee structure, right? Our fee starts at 10%. If let's say you called us 6 months into a claim and maybe received a settlement, we might do a 25% above anything extra that our client was to get with our services, but never to exceed 10% of the total claim. That's always
Got it.
whatever state we're working, we always started it and cap it at 10.
Got it. Got it. So a you got a large fire. There's lots of moving parts. And I think that most people have well, I don't say most people. I'm just gonna say I think there's if you've never been through a fire, uh, the understanding of A, what has to happen, and B, how the policy works are probably not what you thought. Can you kind of walk through the steps of what you know once you sign the contract, kind of what's next?
With our company, correct?
Yeah,
Or with
yeah.
yeah, correct,
No,
with our company.
yeah, just how I mean, typical. I mean, I'm sure there's always like a different things that can happen, but what would you
Correct.
expect once you have a signed contract? Would you go out and assess the situation first, and then get in touch with the insurance company, or would you get in touch with the insurance company, or
Yeah.
tell me how that?
Kind of all at once. So our office will handle the paperwork. They'll send in the contract or letter of representation to the insurance company. At the same time, we have boots on the ground, right? We'll send our team, whether it's the estimating team, personal property, if we're inventorying, if we need to get a forensic accountant involved because it's a business income loss, right? We have to get him involved. So we have a whole team. So we're trying to get everyone involved as quickly as possible on our side because we want to move the claim as quickly as possible because we know, not because, again, we're trying to negotiate as quickly. It's honestly because the quicker we can put a file together and put it together the right way, the insurance company is going to be lagging. By the time they send their adjusters, and it's one guy or gal or whoever they send out, by the time they come out, by the time then they do their report, you're already 3 weeks in. And then they might say, well, this claim is large loss. We might have to send in another adjuster, right? Now we're into 4 or 5 weeks or 6 weeks. So again, we're trying to build our file. So we're ready to go. We have our leg up on the negotiations and on settlement.
Got it. So let's say it hits to the large loss. You've gone and you've got your contracts, you've gone out and assessed it, and I'm assuming you guys do an appraisal on what it's going to cost to build back. Is that kind of
Yes, sir.
okay?
Yes.
And you put that all together. You've engaged the insurance company. At this point, basically, you've got bids to repair. You've got the insurance contract. Have you reviewed the contract, trying to identify the areas that the company owes?
Yeah, so we as soon as we get hired, we request when we send our contract in. We also, in our letter of representation, also state that we do require for the insurance company to send us, per state laws, certified copy of the policy. Because insureds sometimes have just a declaration page, they might not have anything, and if they have the full policy, it's usually not the actual policy. No one ever actually sees their full policy unless you're like, you own a commercial business or something, then you'll get like a packet in the mail. But when you're just a homeowner, it's very rare that you actually see your policy, or you're a landlord. So, I can give you an example. You can go to State Farm right now, sign up with with the be their client, you'll get a declaration page that's 1 page, 2 page, but no one actually ever sees a 30-page policy. Well, we do, right? We know it inside out. So that's something we want to see. When we do our estimate, we don't get bids unless it's on items that are very specialty items. We use a program called Xactimate or Stability. Those are 2 programs used with insurance companies kind of in our network. That way, when we're negotiating on the same level, right? On the same position, kind of, they're using the same program, we're using it. We're we're higher certified than them. We're more experienced than them. So we know the program much better and how to use it. But when we're estimating a home, we're not really appraising like, hey, this is the value of this home is this, or here are our bids. We're estimating line item by line item, right? 2 by 4 by 2 by 4, exactly to the penny what needs to be put in, because that's going to really add up and bring the actual cost of what it's going to take to rebuild the home.
Right. Now, and insurance companies love that itemization, kind of the point by point by
Yes.
point by point. Yeah.
So we stay away. So just so you
Yeah.
put on that itemization, when we have clients saying, hey, they've asked us for bids, we've sent in bids, and I said, well, how many? Well, we sent in 3 for this and 3 for this, and that's the worst thing you can never do, is send them bids. Because then they look at the bids and like, okay, well, we got 3. Well, this one's the cheapest. And then as soon as you bark and say, well, that one, I don't want to go with that guy, he's just sent us like a BS quote. Well, then have your other guys itemize. Which contractor is going to sit there and itemize? I was a contractor. If you asked me to do your bathroom, I wasn't itemizing everything. I just said, this is what I'm doing and this is my price. So, but that's how they get you.
Right, right. So you guys come in with the Xactimate. You have that. Do you then submit that to each one of the contractors you're getting bids from, or do you get bids from
No,
the contractors?
no.
No?
So we're,
Okay.
if you've hired us, we're estimating, we're settling your claim. We're going to be way higher, with the settlement than your contractors. Now, if it's a specialty contractor, maybe wood windows like Pella, that's usually that's higher than in that estimating program, we'd put a bid in, but we know those. So if I'm estimating your home and I know there's a certain item in your home that our program estimates low or not fair, not accurate 100%, then we'd get a bid on it. But most of the time with that software, we're much higher than any contractor around already.
Got it. So just an important step to make sure I understand. When a person hires a public adjuster like you, and you come out and write up the Xactimate bid, that by itself satisfies the request for all the bids. Is that what I'm
Yes,
understanding? Because you've
100%. Because
okay,
I've itemized everything, the whole house,
got it.
electrical, plumbing, everything, every everything you can itemize it. You can go with that program, Darren. You can literally break it down to the nail, to the piece of glue that's needed to put something together.
Right, right. Okay, so but that process by hiring you, there's no need to hire the contractors. You first go and negotiate then. So
Yes,
you take the Xactimate uh uh is it an appraisal? Is that what
exactly. Made estimate or
estimate?
exact.
Yeah, the Xactimate estimate. And you take that and that's what you use to negotiate with the insurance company. And then the insurance company, tell me how do they view it? There's a lot of pushback, or do they start asking, "What about the bids?" Or or is it like, how does how's that
Yeah.
conversation go?
Let me actually backtrack because you said a good thing with the bids that we don't ask for bids or we don't need bids. Yes, I don't. If you fired us, I'm telling you, Darren, you can start getting estimates on rebuilding your home or doing repairs. But those are your bids. Those are your estimates. I don't need them. I don't want them. I never want to see them unless I ask you for a specific bid from one of your contractors. I don't care. We're gonna settle your claim. This is what you're gonna get, and then you know how much money you're having, and now you can start saying, okay, well, I got these contractors, I got this estimate. Okay, I'm in really good standing because all my estimates are much lower or right there at that same amount. But we're always going to be higher. Now, insurance companies, it just really depends on the adjuster, right? 9 out of 10, most adjusters handling large loss, they're super happy to work with a PA because we're basically, especially a good PA, a company that knows what they're doing is going to prepare and build their file and do their job much quicker, right? We could come in, you're talking about a large loss adjuster from one of the big carriers. They're getting 2 fires a day. It takes us for 1 fire for the inspection, for putting and writing an estimate, for building a file. That's 4 or 5 days of work. It's a lot of work to put a detail, and they have to inspect two in 1 day and then put estimates and files together. So we're basically preparing them their files, sharing our estimate with them, and then we're negotiating on site. The last 2 fires local here, we know the adjusters very well. We have our estimate, they have a copy of ours. We walk through the whole building. We agree on everything. This is what we don't agree. Okay, fair enough. We can remove this. And by the time we leave, we're settled. We're done. We know exactly where our client's going to stand.
No, okay,
But then
that
but you do get an adjuster. You do get those adjusters. They're like, oh, it's a PA. Oh, like, they just, but they're upset about everything. Even if you didn't have a PA, they would be upset.
right, right. Well, and I think it's an important thing to acknowledge because there are predisposed opinions, rightly or wrongly, maybe never even had contact or worked with. But there's this notion that it's going to be a fight, kind of thing, because now somebody got
Yeah,
a PA involved. And what I'm hearing you say is that 9 times out of 10, especially on a large loss, you make the job of the adjuster easier because I mean, you speak the language. It's all, it's in the format they need. And it's like, so they've got multiple claims on their desk. So that this helps expedite their ability to settle the claim. Is that accurate?
100%. You have to think about it. If I meet you on site, you're the insurance adjuster. Darren, here's the estimate. Here is the sketch. Here's the photos. You want to walk through it and go through my estimate and say, if there's something you don't agree or we can discuss, yeah, let's do it. And then we walk through it, and then you say, can you send me your file? And then all you do is you take our file, you remove the stuff we don't agree with, or we've already made those changes for you, and you're done. You send it to management to review. Instead, now you have to sketch it, right? Now you have to take photos, videos. You have to put an estimate together, right? That's a whole day's of work, and you have 2 estimates. You get 2 fires in 1 day. The next day you have more, right? Now you're falling behind, and that's when adjusters fall behind. And then what clients don't understand is, thinking there's going to be a fight. You have to remember the insurance adjuster or whoever they're sending out, whether it's their contractor or it's the agent, everyone's working for the insurance company. Everyone's getting paid by the insurance company. Who is actually like on your side? Because the adjuster that comes out when people are like, well, my adjuster, he's not your adjuster. He's working for the insurance company. He's getting bonuses and checks from them, and he's been trained by them. I mean, I don't know if you've watched right now in Congress, they had they pulled up State Farm and Allstate with their tactics, and they had the hearing. It was like I don't know how many days they had that. It was great to listen to, and we send it to our homeowners, to our clients now, because it's great. It exposes exactly how State Farm and Allstate and every other insurance underpays claims, and what their goal is when it comes to claims.
Excuse me. Well, I know that you know, the timeline that the insurance company wants to move at on a claim, as opposed to, you know, putting you back into business, are not necessarily the same. Because they want to give you some money to get going, but they don't want to give you the full payoff, because it's the contract allows for them to pay actual cash value up front, and then pay for replacement costs as you go. Are you able to get that paid in full, or are you able to expedite any of the payments?
Yeah, so we're able to request advances for our clients. We always do on the large loss. We're able to negotiate the depreciation, because negotiating depreciation lowers it maximizes that ACV payment. I'm sorry. So if you can lower the depreciation, it can maximize the ACV, meaning our clients are getting much more upfront with leaving much less for depreciation. And then for the depreciation anyways, we always help our clients. We'll never leave them hanging. And we'll make sure that if they're going to do repairs, or what they're going to do is when they're done, they're going to get that depreciation back. That's something we always promise our clients. So if you're going to do your repairs, you're going to attempt repairs, we'll help you and make sure that what you do is that when you're done, you're going to get that depreciation back.
Got it. So you negotiate with the insurance companies, you get the maximum you can for the ACV payment. And then do you help at all with the contractors hiring, or is that more a matter of, now here's the pool of money, now you insured, go get this thing put together, here's the money you've got?
Yeah, 15 years ago, first couple of years, we always recommended contractors, and then we just got away from it, and we took that out of our business for the sole reason of, every time we recommended someone, and even people we've used, we always came back to haunt us. In turn, it was always, well, Andy, you said that this guy was really good. He's not answering his phone all week. I don't know, maybe his, something happened in the family. I have not, but it was just more of a headache. It's like, we're trying to help. There are people we've actually used, or, I had instances with. So we got away with that, and we just tell the insured, call around and find your own contractors, and, your budget, all the money from each coverage you've gotten. So you've got more than enough. Take your time and find the right contractor, vet them all. But that way we're not, then it doesn't come back, and, and then we have to hear about it. So.
Got it. So we've talked about the getting you involved in the very beginning. And that seems to be, from experience on my side, that seems to be the cleanest way to do it.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about how it works if the property owner has already tried to work with the insurance company, and they're just not getting, complete satisfaction, and feel like they're owed some money, and then they call you?
Yeah, so, and that's a different instance, and it's a lot of calls we get because they don't know about a public adjuster, and it's when they're starting to have issues with insurance companies. When they start doing research online is when they find us. Half of the time it's too late, right? Their claim's been delayed, and now it's ultimately getting denied. And then the other half, when we come in, now you're playing investigative. You're not, you're a detective. You're trying to figure out what's happened for this 4 months. Why has this claim not been paid? Why is it being handled the way it is? And so you're trying to backtrack everything, and hopefully it gives you still enough time to overturn or get the claim paid more, and make sure, it's not too late. Like I said, 50% of the times we get calls, it's too late.
Yeah. Yeah. So in kind of summary of somebody that has a claim, they get you involved. Is there a number or percentage that you would expect them to get, greater than what they would do if
Yeah,
they were doing it on their own?
that's a good question. each each claim is reviewed on its own at its own like on its own merit, right? Because we
Right.
wouldn't take a claim if you came in and said, this is what I got. I got 100,000, Andy. Can you look? I feel like, contractors are saying it's more. And we look through the claim, and we say, well, it only looks like there's 10,000 more. We wouldn't take a claim like that. We would just be wasting your time and our time. I'd rather just tell you some pointers that you can do, or stuff you can, try submitting on your own to get a little bit more money. We have to know we're going to bring value to you. If we're going to come in on a claim and say, hey, we're going to charge you 20 or 25% on anything extra we get you, not to exceed 10%, we have to see that there's value. Like, we looked at a State Farm claim. Um, this is a couple weeks ago. It was paid, I think, about 390. We're about 510. Right? We knew there was an easy $60,000-$70,000 delta that was missing. We knew there was more, but easy that there's that much more we can get. So we're about, like I said, it was 390. We're at 510, about $120,000 difference already more that we've gotten for our client.
Yeah, that's significant to be able to get
Yeah.
that.
And that's an adjuster that actually called our client and said, why are you hiring someone? They're going to take your money. You don't need anyone. That's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
those are
yeah.
those are my favorite too, by the way, is when they say you don't need us. That's the ones we really go after.
Well, and I think that the common thread in all this is that people that buy insurance rarely have been in a large claim. I mean, an automobile accident, it seems almost pedestrian from a standpoint of you take it to the body shop, get a bid or two, three, whatever. But the whole thing is there's a starting point and an ending point, and it's fairly quick. I mean, even if the car is totaled, they're going to tell you right away it's totaled, and here's how much, and here's a rental car for a few days, and go find, a replacement or whatever. But it's got kind of a shorter timeline, and probably most people have had some sort of experience, whether it be directly or indirectly, with that. A large property claim, though, is not necessarily something that anybody has a lot of experience with.
Yeah.
And just the timeline it takes from the date of loss to the date of completion, you could be talking a couple of years. We were talking before about the Palisades fires down in California. Those could be, 10 plus years before those things are
Yep.
built back. And then just the the Xactimate, and just how the insurance companies pay you the actual cash value up front as opposed to the replacement cost, and then just all of it. And and this is all in addition to trying to live your life and do what you normally do. So this is like a full-time job all by itself. And if you don't have experience or have somebody to help you with it, it can be a little overwhelming.
And a
And
little overwhelming is like that's like sugarcoating it. I mean, there's a lot
yeah,
that's thrown at you. The wordage they use and the wordage you say, right? Because you can say the wrong stuff and you can have your whole claim denied just because you said the wrong thing. People don't understand what the process of insurance companies and what their initial, like, they're not there to pay your claim 100, like pay for everything and just and leave. No, that's not how their business works. It's not how they've become. That's not why Allstate stock is where it's at. Right? It's not because they signed up. There's 300 million more people in America, and they just signed them up automatically. That's not what's happening. The burden of proof is on the insured. So if you've never had a claim, even maybe if you had one before, this is your second one. The burden of proof is on you, meaning everything that's lost, the damages, the amounts, the claim, everything's on you. It's not on the insurance companies. A lot of people are like, well, my adjuster's doing this, my adjuster. Yeah, the adjusters aren't perfect, but they don't care. It's not on them to pay the claim and pay it fairly and pay everything. It's on you.
right, right. Nope, burden of proof. Very well said. Um, so I'm just trying to think. So just based on the claim scenario, is there anything we missed that we should have discussed?
No, I think you've gotten all the major stuff. I don't think there's anything. I mean, we can probably discuss the subject for hours, right? Because there's so many different. After 15 years, Darren, every day is different. Every claim is different.
Yeah.
It can be the same location. It could be the same insurance. It could be same. Everything's different all the time.
Well, and I would ask you if there's any recommendations you have based on coverage for people. But I think that even in this market, like we talked before we started recording, that the market's tough right now. Providers are pulling out of certain markets, like we talked about California. And with that, the coverage forms that companies are offering are less than what you might have historically expected. So I would say definitely buyer beware. You need to have some sort of level of understanding of what it is you're buying, and then I mean I've had some large losses, and I've seen the outcome with a public adjuster like yourself that gets involved right away, as opposed to after the claim has already gotten stale and it's the communication's fallen apart. Trying to put that back together, it's not a pretty picture. So if you have any questions on how to handle a claim, a public adjuster is certainly a good option. And I've seen it, and it's a big help. So Andy, if we could, let's shift gears here for a second. As we've talked, by day I'm an insurance broker, and as such, I work with my clients to assess risk and determine what to do with the risk. And there's three strategies we typically consider. We first look to see if there's a way we can avoid the risk. If we can't avoid it, we look to see if there's a way we can minimize the risk. And if we can't avoid nor minimize, we look to see if we can transfer the risk. That's what an insurance policy is. And as such, I like to ask my guests if they can look at their own situation. Could be your clients, could be the insurance market, could be claims, whatever it is that you identify and consider to be the biggest risk. And again, for clarification, while I'm an insurance broker, I'm not necessarily looking for an insurance-related answer. And so if you're willing, I'd like to ask you, Andy Gurczak, what is the biggest risk?
Biggest risk? You got me off guard. Not, you know what? I'll say not maintaining your home. I think a lot of people, the biggest risk is people not maintaining their home, and then the homes falling apart, having damage, which they all expect the insurance to cover. And it's not, shingles falling off, your window caving in, 2x4s leaning to the left, drywall peeling. Like those are all prevented, like those are all maintenance of your home. And so the biggest risk I think is just people then expecting the insurance company to be their warranty, their handyman and everything, and it be done for free. And you probably see it on your side too as an insurance broker. So
yeah, no, insurance companies don't want to be a maintenance contract. They try and steer clear. It's supposed to be, I mean, the idea for insurance in the big picture is the large, sudden, accidental, something bigger than what you could take care of yourself. And that number's getting bigger and bigger. But yeah, if you're using your policy as a maintenance policy, you're not going to be able to afford your insurance for very long, because insurance companies will price it accordingly. So, but Andy, where can listeners go if they'd like to learn more or connect with you?
yeah, they can find us at allcityadjusting.com. Your listeners can also call directly. They can call me directly, which I'll leave my number for your listeners. If they want to get a hold of me, have any questions about adjusting, is 708-655-4186. So 708-655-4186. That's the quickest way to get a hold of me or the company.
Got it. Well, Andy Gurczak, I can't say thanks enough for taking the time to talk. Always enjoy it, learn a lot, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Thank you, Darren.
All right. For our listeners, if you like this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, the more you know, the more you grow. That's all we've got this week. Until next time, thanks for listening to Commercial Real Estate Pro Network's CREPN Radio.
You're listening to CREPN Radio for influential commercial real estate professionals. For more information on this or any of our guests, like us on Facebook, CREPN Radio.